Don't let yourself down. Because that nagging feeling or that questioning or that discontent is information. Not saying you need to act on it today, but it's information. Don't ignore yourself because it might be important for you to assess who you're loyal to. Hi, friends, and welcome to the Next Best Thing podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Cline-Thomas. Now, I'm here to help you create strategies to navigate all of your career and life transitions. And as we like to say around here, a pivot and a plan B are not required. Now, before we dive into this episode, if you could please help your girl out and hit subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Also, we are just days away from launching the newsletter. It's called Next Nuggets, where I'm going to share gems from this podcast and provide additional resources, again, to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. Now, just go to the website, thenextbestthingact.com. Again, it's the name of the podcast, myinitials.com. The Next Best Thing, ACT.com. Scroll down to the bottom. You'll see a newsletter tab where you can just go ahead and put in your email. It will be a bi-weekly newsletter to start, so I will not be clogging up your inbox. Don't you worry. Now, you guys know that I usually don't do very many solo episodes. I certainly don't check in so quickly after I've done one. I did a solo episode just a few weeks ago. But look, I often share hardships that I've endured on this podcast, but I also want to share wins. And y'all, your girl has been winning. She's been winning. The last few weeks have been fantastic and great. And look, I know this journey is a roller coaster. It is up and down. So when we have a win, we need to celebrate. So let me tell you what's been going on. So I shared this on my Instagram page, my personal Instagram page, about this beautiful brunch that I was invited to by Rena Mall, who I met a few years ago before pandemic, BP before the pandemic, BC before COVID. So it was a lifetime ago. But we kept up on social media.
And we want to encourage and stimulate diverse communities by pushing the collective thought forward, by giving them experiences through innovative and insightful experiences like this one.
And she's relaunching her company called Loud Ideas. And so there are about 24 women who she honored, and I was among the women that she honored. And it was just like powerhouse names, the dopest women. We gathered in this beautiful penthouse apartment in New York, in Chelsea, and had such a great time. She curated such a beautiful space for us. And the whole idea was that like everybody went around to introduce themselves. You had to like say your name, what you did. But the thing that struck me was you had to say what you needed. And I've heard that question asked before, but what was different was that you didn't just say what you needed. If somebody else in the group could help you with that, they would say, I can help with that. And so it's hard, especially as Black women. We're kind of reared to kind of like take everything on our shoulders and just carry everybody. Even if you got to drag some folks to glory, you got to just take them on your back. And it's overwhelming, right? And so it was just such a vulnerable space where people are saying, I'm really having a hard time with this. I'm really having a hard time with that. Or I really don't know how to do this or that. And people just put up a finger and said, I can help you with that, and meant it. And then you exchange information at the end. So I met some pretty great people that I'm hoping to keep in contact with. We have messaged or text since then. And that was just, I'm still on a high. That was well over a week ago, probably 2 weeks now. Still on a high from that.
So we've got a great day ahead, and on
And then a few days later, Kate
Davis.
Luzio was actually a guest on this podcast. I forgot what episode number, but she was doing the SWOT analysis on your career, where she owns this space called Luminary. It is both digital and a physical space. And they really center women and women's needs in the workforce. Well, they had a conference sponsored by Verizon, and I went to the conference. It was free. I'm a member of Luminary, by the way. I think it's amazing if you're in the New York City area, or if you're an entrepreneur, they have digital classes. They don't pay me, but look, I'm telling everybody, go and sign up and be a part of Luminary. It has been transformative, especially over the last year. But they have this conference, and I was just able to take classes and listen to other entrepreneurs, and they just give the real deal. Nothing is sugar coated over there. And so I just learned so much. I got to reconnect with some people who I had met before and meet new people. Just such a fun time. And it's just so important on my journey to continue my education, because I don't know what I'm doing. I keep on telling y'all that. Y'all keep on asking me for advice. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just obsessive about what I want to do. When I set a goal, I'm obsessive over it. So I just read everything. I go to these conferences. I'm watching YouTube videos, all the things. So that's just what I do. But I learned so much, and it really helped me in my process and a lot of the things I'm going to be implementing here with this podcast. So you'll be seeing, if you see some changes coming up, it's because I've got new information, I've got new tools, and it's because of that conference. Another thing that was a big win, the Atlantic Festival. During the last solo episode, if you listened, I talked about how I had a client that had a big conference coming up. Well, it was with the Atlantic. I like to talk about things after they're done in specificity. But it's the second year that I've worked with the Atlantic magazine. It's such a reputable organization that was established in the 1800s. It's a legacy journalism brand. And they have a festival every year in DC. It is at the wharf. I think they call it like the Southwest waterfront maybe now. We called it the wharf. Those of us from the DMV, it was the wharf. But it's all gentrified now. It's a beautiful festival. And so I create programming for it. And I also had to manage a venue. And it's a lot of work. All right, I signed on with them in June. There's a lot of work that goes into coming up with programs, booking speakers, prepping moderators, writing scripts, and then managing a venue. So it's making sure everything is in place, making sure that the panelists are there on time, they know what to do, they know where to go. If somebody's late, holding the program, you know, all of that. You're just working in collaboration with a much bigger team. And after it was done, I was just on such a high. I was like, man, I love this. Man, my feet hurt so much. Oh my gosh, everybody's feet was hurting because you were on your feet all day. It was a 2-day festival. But I was just like, wow, what did I love about this? And I've had a therapist ask me about this before about, okay, tell me about the good experiences you have, because I'm like everybody else. I can sit and wallow in a bad experience and just pass by and just not think twice about a great experience, which is why I needed to do this solo episode too, as a reminder to myself of the really good moments in the midst of stuff that's really kind of hard and difficult, which is just part of life. But I was just breaking down, honestly, like why did I love this so much? And there were some things, because I also had like a really great work experience when I worked in Nashville as a local news reporter. And that's always like my benchmark. But then now with the Atlantic, working with them for the second year, I really enjoyed my time with this team. And I was really like thinking, like breaking down, like what was so great about it. Here are just some things that I came up with. One, I had a boss who didn't lead with an ego. They were the boss for sure. Everybody knew it, but they were also normal human beings who saw us as human beings. They didn't need to lord over us. We weren't just their direct reports. They did their jobs very well. And if we needed help, they had the skill and the desire to get in the trenches with us to accomplish that goal. And they respected us as a professional, and they really listened. They had really high expectations, and the product reflected that. The product matched their high expectations. Have you ever been on a job where they had all these expectations and the product was no good? You're like, what are we doing this for? Well, this really, really high expectations, and the product and the execution match that. Those expectations were communicated with a specific end goal in mind. And the end goal was a mission that I totally could align with, that was aligned with my mission. And I always need to know what I'm working hard for to make that effort kind of make sense. My colleagues were smart, they do their work, they were professional. Hiring, I understand, is so hard in business. It is really the most important thing, and it's a really hard thing to do. But when you have people who aren't in the right places, or just bad apples, if you will, it really muddles everything. It can ruin, one person can really ruin a whole entire work environment. And so in this circumstance and with Nashville, they just hired really, really well. And it's not that I had things in common with everybody, but at the very basic level, everybody did their job, cared about the work that they did, and remain professional. Now, with these two jobs that I continue to reference, like, I also like the people. You know what I mean? Like, they were also cool. And even people who I wasn't on Zoom calls with, who I met while I was there, they were hilarious. Um, they didn't take themselves too seriously, although we all had really big jobs to do, important jobs to do to make this work. Like, they were still fun. They still joked. Like, it was just really cool. It was a cool environment. Um, and so I was thinking about this deeply, and I continue to think about this because I'm just like, I need to have better discernment when I assess opportunities. And it's not even what to stay away from, but really, what are the environments that I can thrive in? Because both of those situations that I've been mentioning, I came away so much smarter. Like the work that I had to do for The Atlantic, I did a program about AI and technology and healthcare, and how equity plays a role as the technology continues to advance. Like, that's heavy stuff, you know? I also did one about climate change. Oh my God, all the things that I had to learn, it was fantastic. And that's another thing. I really love learning. I need to be in spaces where I'm learning something. I'm not just doing something, but I am learning, that I align with the mission and purpose, that the people carrying it out also embody that mission and purpose. Without a huge ego doing it. Like, those are the places where because I work. I actually like working. And I like working for a goal and a mission of betterment, of education, of making other people more informed. Like, that is why I wake up in the morning. That is why I do this podcast. So that was really necessary for me to break down. And if I think about the circumstances and situations where that I struggled with the most, all those three things were not there at all. So now I just have more discernment as I go into new opportunities, how I assess opportunities. I did that coaching, the media coaching for that new client that I told you about the last time. I had my first session with this new client. It was great. It was so fun. That was all in the midst of all of this. Um, it was so fun. I felt like a personal cheerleader, which is also another thing that I loved. An element in my life that I need to feel fulfilled is to cheer other people on. That's a core function that I need to fulfill. And that's what that really helped me with. And it was fun. It was a good time. It was a really good time. Um, I'm looking at my list now because I'm just going off the top of my head. I was just like, I need to record this because I'm going to have a busy weekend because my good friend Faith is coming to New York and we're going to have a jam-packed weekend. So I can't wait, but I need to get my work done before she comes so we can just go on and be out in these streets. Next up, September podcast milestone. September was a great month for this podcast. We're still an intimate group of people, but we are growing. We got some more friends coming along. So, hey, y'all, hey, thanks for checking us out. The YouTube page, oh my God, the YouTube page like blew up from August numbers to September numbers, crazy. So we're going to continue to produce content. We're going to continue to implement these new social media strategies. Like, I'm like an old lady on the internet. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? But I've had a few sessions. And I've asked some social media wizards about what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's been super duper helpful. So thank you for coming here, for your feedback. Please let me know how I can better serve you. Like for real, like send me a DM, send me an email at hello@mountaincourtmedia.com. You can do it through Instagram at the next best thing ACT is the Instagram handle. You can do it through there. But this is great. But all of this kind of culminates to I have just been so much lighter and I've just been in such a great mood and just waking up every day in anticipation. And, there was a point there for a long time where I just would wake up and just would have dread or be like, oh, I've got all these things to do. Or I would spend my morning, like the first 2 hours of my morning, let's say, giving myself pep talks to get through the day. And just the other day, I woke up and, child, I actually went to the gym. Look at me. I mean, I've gone one time. I need to go again. That was yesterday. I went on Wednesday to the gym. I actually ran a little bit. I'm doing Couch to 5K for the 5,000th time. I'm starting over on day one to Couch to 5K. But look, I went and I'm feeling myself. And you couldn't tell me anything yesterday. You like absolutely nothing on the planet Earth that you could tell me about myself. Because why? Because I went to the gym. But while I was there at the end, stretching at the end or whatever, and I was just really thinking, like, man, I've been having so many good days, like so many good days where this is like becoming my normal. And it wasn't like that for so long that I did almost missed it, right? Like I almost missed because as I was saying before, that I would have to spend like the first 2 hours of my day preparing myself for the day ahead, like preparing myself, giving myself pep talks, listening to a sermon, summoning Jesus in the worst days, summoning Jesus off the throne, come sit at my feet, please, or let me sit at your feet, Jesus, to get me through this day. And while I'm not a pop out of bed type of girl, I'm a snooze, telling, Siri to snooze. I wake up and I'm ready to go. I wake up. I got a lot of things to do. My to-do list is very long every single day, but I'm really happy about it. It's just really great. It's just a difference. Like night and day, 180 degrees. Like it's a whole difference. I don't dread not one thing. When Stephanie Perry was on, she was talking about the soft life and what freedom meant to her. She said that she does not have anybody in her life that she has to hide anything from. She doesn't have any space that she enters where she has to code switch, that she doesn't have, she doesn't do things where she's having to watch her back. Like, that's how I feel right now. Finally. It just feels really, really good. And I was had a meeting because I'm pitching myself for more opportunities because I need to get paid. Um, and they were asking, like, what is it that you want to do, or what is it? And I had to stop the woman that I was speaking to. I said, no, first it's about the mission, and does the mission align? And then we'll go there. Like, my skills can transfer to a lot of different things within this specific organization in terms of what I can do. But what I'm focused on is the mission of what you are doing. And then we'll, starting from there, and then we'll figure out, like, what I do within that mission is just whatever. Like, that's not, I'm proficient in a lot of different things, but what I'm more focused on is the mission and how it's carried out. And that's my heart posture right now. Is I want to do things that align with putting good out there in the world, education out there in the world. Um, and I'm getting to do that. And I had a conversation with somebody who is entering this unknown space of what their next is. And the person was new to this, had a career, a long, illustrious career, and now is in the position where they have to define what next is, and it's a scary process, and what I told the person was, this world is really big. It's really big. I think we often think and talk about things in terms of scarcity. It is a really big world. A lot of people need a lot of things. They need just what you have to offer. And I at the conference, um, this woman, her name is Jordan. Let me get her last name. Hold on one second. Let me look on Instagram and get her last name. She was doing a session on social media marketing, and she said something that really stuck with me because, there's always Jordan Guyton is her name, Jourdan, Guyton. And for me, I'm always like, I'm not qualified to tell people a lot of different things. That's not what I do as a journalist. I curate the information. Like, I get the information, I curate it, I put it within context, and then put it out there and let people receive it however they receive it. Take whatever you want to take, leave whatever you want to leave, and then I move on with my day. But she was talking about how like strategies for social media, and how there could be like a how-to strategy, how you can teach people how to do something. And she was just like, you don't have to be a level 10 expert on it. Even if you're a level 2, you can teach someone who's at a level 1. And that really stuck with me, was that we all have something to give. We all have something to teach. And my mom reminded me the other day, she's like, I guess you went back to, with this podcast, I guess you went back to teaching, because that's what if you asked me in the third grade what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would say a teacher. And that never left me when I was, a local news reporter. I still reveled in the fact of getting information and sharing it with others to help them, inform their lives. And that never stops. So when I was speaking with this person who's now found themselves in a position that they didn't expect to be in, with having to navigate their next, I just kept on telling them, like, oh, this is what I wanted to do in journalism. I wanted to have this information and share it with people. That's exactly what I did with the Atlantic magazine. I don't have the title as local news reporter, but it's still journalism. I really like to If I know something, I like to share it with others. That's what I'm doing with this podcast. I had a laptop. I asked for a mic for my birthday. And so I'm still fulfilling the exact same things that got me in journalism. I'm still doing the exact same things, but just on different platforms. But it required me to just open up my aperture for just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. And then to look right and to look left, because journalism makes you have such incredible tunnel vision. And for the journalists who listen to this, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We have, because I still am a journalist, we have such a great responsibility, and we are exposed to things that other people, everyday people, are not exposed to. You can be in public housing one day interviewing a family, and you could be with the governor, the mayor, the president, the vice president the next day, literally in the same week. That is actually not odd. And although we are exposed to so much, we are also exposed to so little. There is so much more out there that we are not even privy to, that we don't understand, that we do not have experience with, because that's not considered newsworthy. The things that I had to research for the Atlantic Festival, those types of conversations often happen in print and not fully in broadcast. Certainly not in local news, maybe on network where you have a whole team putting that together, maybe in long form, but not in the space of local news. And the way that I've been able to be exposed to so many other things, it's quite overwhelming, but also very satisfying. And again, it was the reason why I became a journalist, because I just wanted to learn so much. So I just say that to say that whatever industry you're in, it is not the be all end all. There's so much more out there. It just requires you to open up your lens and look around. And there's another thing, and I always question if I should say this out loud, but I'm on LinkedIn and I'm not in this position, but I read a LinkedIn post from a woman who was just exacerbated, and she was talking about how she's applied to all these jobs. First of all, corporate is real trifling in how they treat people, because they will, some of these places for these jobs for folks are making people put on whole presentations, calling them for 4 and 5 interviews, making them do all this work, talking to all these people, taking up all their time, and then ghosting them and not even giving them the common courtesy of saying that they didn't get the job. Or they're saying, oh, we went with another candidate, although this person like went on 500 rounds of interviews. And for folks who have lost their jobs and they're like, they need another check. This woman was saying she had lost her job and she had done all the things. She had, tried to, do the things in LinkedIn to help with the algorithm, commenting on other people's posts, being on Saturdays, putting out her thought leadership, all these things. And she's gone an interview after interview and never was selected. And now she's just exacerbated and tired. And I've seen so many posts like that. And it breaks my heart for these people. But it also reminds me that, yes, I'm going out for other jobs, other opportunities, but I'm also creating my own. Like, if people keep telling you no in one area, you gotta go someplace else. You can't keep on asking to be let in through that door. You gotta create your own. You gotta figure out how to create your own. And that's what I'm really trying to do as part of this podcast, is just trying to create my own. So you don't have to always rely on other people giving you a yes, that you can say the yes to yourself. L'Oreal, in her episode, when she was talking about launching into her next because she's had multiple jobs. She's a journalist, but she's also worked in comms. And she talked about the same thing, how there has been the consistent narrative throughout all her jobs. Her why has been consistent through all her jobs, just the means in which she carried it out were different. But she said something that stuck with me and I will never forget, in terms of, I think I asked her how did you know what your thought process was when you launched into your next? And she said, I knew I wouldn't disappoint myself. Other folks, they're going to disappoint you. Workplaces are built by human beings. And so human beings are imperfect. There is an element of disappointment that will always be there. But when L'Oreal said, I won't disappoint myself. And that's why I bet on myself, because I knew I wouldn't let myself down. That stuck with me. So whatever you're doing, whatever stage you're in, whatever it is, however you found this podcast, I'm happy you're here. And I'm just wanting to remind you not to let yourself down, rather. Don't let yourself down. Because that nagging feeling or that questioning or that discontent is information. Not saying you need to act on it today, but it's information. Don't ignore yourself, because it might be important for you to assess who you're loyal to. And if you're not at the top of that list, even if you have, well, this is going to be controversial, even if you have kids, because if you're not good, you can't offer anything to anybody else. So you really need to be at the top of your loyalty list. In my opinion, as somebody who doesn't have children or a spouse, but as they say, you can't pour from an empty cup. I've just seen too many times people being loyal to entities that are not loyal to them, and they're just caught flat-footed. So if you're getting no's, what can you create for yourself? As Jordan Guyton said, you don't have to be a level 10 expert. If you're at a level 2, you can teach folks at a level 1. All right. Well, we're just going to leave it there. Again, the newsletter is coming out in a few days. To be honest, I'm trying to figure out one little thing with this podcast, with this newsletter. I'm sorry, I've got this little fly here. I'm trying to figure out one little thing, and then we're going to be good to go. Before I go, y'all, so I've got a lot of podcast episodes scheduled, and these guests, I'm not playing with y'all, okay? I'm not playing. Now that I have so much more time to devote to this thing, fire. These guests coming up, the past guests we had were fire. The guests coming up, y'all, we are closing out the year strong. And there'll just be more things. I won't even say yet because I still don't know how to do them. Sometimes I'll just be telling y'all something will happen and I don't really know how to do it, to give myself a deadline. Dominique, they all said you need to have a deadline. So again, to give myself a deadline to get this done, but more stuff is coming. Give me your feedback. Let me know. Let me ask you this way. The way that it was asked to me that resonated deeply with me. How can I help you? How can I help you? Let me know. DM me on Instagram at the next best thing ACT. You can email me at hello@mountaincourtmedia.com. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the YouTube page. Thank you for being a part of this community. I have you in mind. I have you in my heart. We got this. Not just you individually, because if you're here, that means that I got your back too. Until next time, take care.